Hey guys, Dustin here from Handsome Fan. I'm really excited to be here hanging out with you today, and I wanted to have a conversation. Well, I guess we can't really have a conversation. You can always put stuff down in the comments, but I wanted to talk today about this PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox Scorpio. So I don't want to beat a dead horse here with the PlayStation 4 Pro reveal. I think everyone can pretty much agree that it was not a good press conference. They spent a lot of time talking about tech and talking about 4K, HDR, and all that stuff. And, I think it's twofold because it's difficult to show that through a crappy YouTube or Twitch stream. But in another way, I think they could have done a better job explaining more specifically certain areas about the PlayStation 4 Pro. So having a 4K gaming console is great, but right now there doesn't seem to be a lot of people out there with 4K TVs, let alone HDR TVs. So I feel like the fact it was interesting they focused so much on that 4K portion, but it seemed like how this PlayStation 4 Pro is going to benefit just normal HD users was pretty glossed over overall. And I think part of the problem with this conference overall was the fact that there was a lot of expectations that came out of this initial leak of what the PlayStation 4 Neo was going to be, right? So there was talk about, every game is going to need a mandatory PlayStation Pro mode, whether that's 4K for those with 4K TVs or higher fidelity, higher frame rates on a 1080p. But now we're seeing that so first of all, it's mainly focused primarily at 4K gamers, which is fine. That was maybe a false expectations that we had, but also that the Pro features for 1080 users are very, very limited, at least right off the bat. I think what was most interesting about, maybe not the most interesting, but something I found very interesting about this conference is that it seemed to be a lack of excitement that I could read from between the lines, right? So there's a list of currently games that will be compatible, either patching in the support for old games or new games that are going to come with pro modes. And I believe the list is like under 15 titles, and most of them were old titles. So this just speaks to me that there's not a lot of excitement from the developers about this box. At least from the get-go. I mean, we've got a lot of time, not a lot, but we've got some time between when this box is actually going to come out. And so I think we'll see games come out of the woodwork and announced pro modes and stuff like that. But it was just interesting that it's like I could maybe be sold on this box based on the 1080p potentially getting 1080p 60. As well as higher visual fidelity, and maybe even those 4K people out there, I think they're in the same boat because right now the list of supported games is so small, is it really even worth it? One of the other things I found really interesting is how they almost completely glossed over VR, right? So, and maybe, I don't know, maybe my information isn't right and I don't know everything they meant. I consider myself in the hardcore space or whatever you want to say. And they mentioned one game with PlayStation 4 Pro support, which is Farpoint, a game that no one really knew about until E3, and there isn't really a lot of hype behind it. We don't know a ton about the game other than it comes with this controller. It's the only game that supports this controller. So, one of the main things that I was excited about, I was like, man, obviously this PlayStation 4 baseline can run VR, but based on how Oculus and Vive works, obviously it's very beneficial to have a high-end PC or high-end specs. And so I was like, this PlayStation 4 Pro is going to provide a more high-end PC experience for the PlayStation VR. And all they could really tell me about was one game that isn't really even previewing that well right now. So let me be clear, like I said at the beginning, I really think that this was a bad conference. There's a lot of information about how this box works, and I don't think they necessarily portrayed that in always the best ways. But I'm curious just about seeing how people are reacting to this specific conference, how the messaging will change between now and November when it comes out. And another thing to remember is that we at home, for the most part, cannot see the 4K HDR benefits. There's a good chance that a lot of people are going to walk into, a GameStop or a Best Buy or somewhere where they can see the Pro running on a 4K TV in HDR, and they're going to be like, wow, this thing is insanely awesome. So right now, I really do not plan on getting a PlayStation 4 Pro at all. I will admit that I did pre-order one on Amazon because Amazon doesn't charge you until it's shipped and it was available. And I thought I would rather, if they're able to change my mind or, portray this a little better, then I'll be ready to go. But if not, I'm going to cancel my pre-order and save my money and, spend more money on games or something like that just because, I don't think that they haven't shown me that there's a huge benefit for specifically 1080p gamers. Not that I'm never going to own a 4K TV. And and maybe this box, I'm not saying that it's like you must upgrade to the PlayStation 4 Pro, the boxes are meant to live side by side, and so I'm very happy with my current PS4, and unless they can convince me otherwise, I'm going to stick with it. Now, for the other portion of this video, something that I think is really interesting is that there's been a lot of people that are like, wow, Microsoft is going to hit it out of the park with Scorpio, especially now that PlayStation 4 Pro has been revealed. Microsoft is laughing because Scorpio is going to be so much more powerful, and there's more distance between the original release of Xbox One and Scorpio, that it's going to be able to convince more gamers to jump on board and show that an actual true difference as opposed to PS4 and PS4 Pro, as far as we can tell, not having a huge difference so far. And I feel like this, you got to think about the technical aspects of this, right? And, I invite anybody who thinks that I'm wrong to comment in a nice way in the comments. If you comment in a mean way, I'm not going to respond. You can comment in a nice way. But, I know a decent amount, I would say, about PC gaming. And I know that it is very difficult and very expensive right now to push out 4K gaming at even 30 frames per second. Especially, depending on the game even. So, I feel like anyone who thinks that Scorpio out of the box is going to cost $400 is just... You're out of your mind. I think that for sure Xbox Scorpio is going to cost in the ballpark $700-800. They've already gone out and they've said that this is going to be a high-end device at a premium cost. I believe was a literal actual quote. I mean, I remember reading it. I'm not 100% positive. I feel like I do remember reading that they said it was going to be a premium product, right? So I feel like they're taking two very different approaches to 4K. PlayStation 4 Pro doing some sort of software-related upscale, and then Scorpio doing a native 4K. I think what will be really interesting is once we see side by side the 4K content from the PS4 Pro and the Scorpio, side by side, and we'll see, is the native 4K going to be so much of a difference that it'll be worth paying that premium price for. I think PS4 Pro is going to have a huge price advantage over the Scorpio, and that is really going to help them out. I think there's this talk on the internet, oh, Scorpio is going to, they're laughing right now. I think they might be nervous that the fact that this cheaper product might be able to do what their way more expensive box is going to do at a cheaper price. I think the one last weird thing about Scorpio is that now that Xbox, their first-party titles are playable on Xbox One and PC across the board, and you can even buy them and they'll, work. You'll get a download for both, right? I think it's going to be interesting because I think that console gamers will see the price of the Scorpio and they will say, no. And the, high-end gamer that cares about fidelity and frame rates and resolution is already going to be on a PC. And these first-party titles are already going to work on a PC. So why buy a Scorpio, right? You might as well spend a lot less money building a PC. Well, and I can't say that for sure, right? This is all purely speculation. I should have put a marker at the beginning of this whole video that a lot of this is just speculation. I could be totally dead wrong, right? But I feel like the enthusiasts will keep their PCs and they'll keep using them, and that the Scorpio will be too expensive for the console gaming market. Regardless, whether you like it or not, the 4K devices, the consoles, they're coming. They're here very soon. Not here quite yet, but very soon. And so, it's very interesting. Just we've never had a time quite like this, that, a mid-cycle refresh on the consoles that actually have different specs, right? So let me know down in the comments whether you are excited about these mid-cycle refreshes. Maybe you are excited for PlayStation Pro or maybe Xbox Scorpio. You can also let me know down in the comments what you think. Are you getting one? Are you not getting one? Let me know. As always, if you enjoyed this video, enjoyed hanging out with me, make sure to subscribe to this channel and you'll get all our content directly to your YouTube homepage. Till next time, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at DustinCanFly. See you next time.